Menopause at 41. Not exactly what I expected. You might be wondering, isn't that too early? Or how did I even know that it was menopause? Did the doctors take me seriously? Was it difficult? These are questions that I had myself, and today I'm answering them. In this video, I'll be talking about how I knew it was menopause and not something else, the hardest parts no one warns you about, and how it changed my energy, my work, my daily life, and even my relationships, and the surprising benefits I never expected, and also what I would do differently if I had to go through it again, and finally how I can help you with your menopause symptoms and flourish. Hi, I'm Preet, a certified menopause life coach. I help high-achieving Indian women take back control so you can feel energized, confident, and at ease in your body and life. If you want a simple guide for managing your symptoms, do download the Menopause Symptoms Relief Cheat Sheet. It's linked down in the description. Now here's the thing. No one really prepares you for menopause, especially when it happens earlier than expected. And at first, I wasn't even sure that it was menopause. I mean, menopause at 41 wasn't really on my radar. I was having ileostomy surgery and I was going to be focusing on recovery, the usual healing process. But during the procedure, I had very serious complications and my doctor had to perform an emergency total hysterectomy during my ileostomy surgery, which basically means that they removed my ovaries. I woke up not only dealing with surgical recovery, but facing sudden surgical menopause without any warning and without any preparation. At first, I thought the exhaustion, the brain fog, the mood swings were just part of me healing after the surgery. I also told myself that this was normal post-surgical fatigue, but then things didn't add up. I mean, my energy didn't return to what it used to be, and the brain fog just kept getting worse, and then came the hot flashes out of nowhere. It was just like heat rising from inside. That's when I started to ask questions. Was this just recovery? Was it a reaction to surgery? Or was my body telling me something else entirely? I mean, the doctors didn't really bring up menopause immediately because at 41, it wasn't really the expected diagnosis. But it was already here. For high-achieving women, it's easy to push past symptoms, chalking them up to be stress or recovery. But surgical menopause isn't like natural menopause. It doesn't ease in over time. It hits fast and hard. And if you don't recognize it, it can feel very overwhelming. And it was very overwhelming for me. If you've gone through surgery and felt like your body suddenly changed in ways that don't make sense, the energy crashes, mood shifts, sleep disruption, the relentless hot flashes, you might already be in surgical menopause. And here's the thing, doctors might not bring it up unless you ask. Let me just put on my glasses. This is another side effect of menopause. Everyone talks about the hot flashes, but the hardest part, losing control over how my body responds to my own life. I mean, one day I was moving through my schedule like I always had, focused, efficient, handling everything. And then the next, I woke up completely drained, like someone had switched off my battery overnight. No warning, no clear reason, just exhaustion that didn't care what was on my calendar. I mean, at first I pushed through because that's what I'd always done. And a strong cup of coffee, mental reset, just powering forward. But menopause doesn't follow any willpower. And the worst part is not knowing when it would happen next. I started to feel unreliable in my own body. I wanted to show up fully, but some days my body had totally different plans. And no one prepares you for any of this. So for us high-achieving women, especially those used to being in full control, this unpredictability can be very frustrating. I mean, you're used to handling everything, structuring your time, managing your energy, and then suddenly your body shifts in ways that don't follow any schedule. Here's what helped me: tracking my energy patterns, So instead of pushing through, learning when I naturally feel sharper and then working with those windows. Another one was shifting from force to flow. So allowing space for adjustment instead of treating rest as a failure. And then third was redefining productivity. So I was focusing on what truly mattered instead of measuring success by how much I could get done in a day. And finally, accepting this as a transition, not as a loss, because when I stopped resisting, I found new ways to work with my energy rather than working against it. Menopause doesn't take away your ability to function. It just requires a new way of working with yourself. And once you stop fighting it, you realize there's a way forward that doesn't feel like a battle. For me, that meant completely shifting how I managed my energy, because the way I had always worked wasn't going to work anymore. And I had to completely rethink how I approached every part of my life, because pushing through wasn't an option anymore. Before surgical menopause at 41, I could rely on my energy. I had structure. I knew when to push, how to pace myself, how to balance my work, my relationships, my responsibilities. But after the surgery, that changed overnight. Some mornings I woke up sharp, focused, ready to take on the day, and then other mornings my body would simply not cooperate. I would have severe brain fog, exhaustion, and a heaviness that made even simple conversations feel very overwhelming. At first, I resisted. I kept telling myself I could push through, that if I had enough discipline, enough willpower, I could override the symptoms. But menopause does not work that way. The more I ignored it, the worse it got. I had to adjust not just how I worked, but how I showed up in my relationships too. Work had always been structured, clear goals, deadlines, pushing forward, but because my energy became very unpredictable, I had to shift how I planned my days. So instead of scheduling my time based on ambition alone, I had to schedule it based on how my body actually was feeling that day. Some days, deep focus tasks were very easy. But then on other days, I had to give myself permission to step back, to take it easy. But the bigger challenge, relationships. I wasn't the same person I was before menopause, at least not in the way that I interacted with people. Some days I felt emotionally raw, less patient, easily overwhelmed. And the conversations that used to be effortless now felt draining. I had to learn to communicate differently, set boundaries more clearly, and recognize that some of what I was experiencing wasn't just emotional, it was hormonal. So instead of pulling away, I learned to talk about it openly, letting people around me know and understand what I was going through, what was happening. And when I stopped fighting against it, I realized I didn't need to lose the momentum. I just needed a different strategy. So here's what helped me: strategic breaks. Rest wasn't something I had to earn, and I started building intentional pauses into my schedule, like short resets to prevent burnout. And surprisingly, giving myself that space helped me stay sharper longer during the day and getting more done. Another thing was hormone replacement therapy. At first, I didn't want it, but after learning more about it, understanding it, and realizing how much of a necessity it was for me, I worked with my doctor to find the right HRT solution for myself. And if you're wondering about HRT, I'll be discussing more about HRT in my upcoming video, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. So menopause didn't take away my ambition or my relationships or the ability to thrive. It just forced me to adjust how I managed them. And when you stop fighting your body and start working with it, you realize this phase is actually a beautiful transition and you can flourish beyond it. And surprisingly, that transition isn't just about managing symptoms. It reshapes how you see yourself, your priorities, and even the way you make decisions. no one talks about the clarity that comes with menopause. For so long, I was caught up in doing more, pushing harder, proving myself over and over. And after menopause, something changed in me. I mean, the urgency softened, and the pressure to constantly chase the next thing, to please, to prove, to perform, it all started to fade away. Instead, my priorities sharpened, my decisions became clearer. I wasn't just reacting to life anymore. I was choosing with certainty, and what mattered stood out. What drained me became oblivious and obvious to me. And suddenly I stopped second guessing myself, and the noise, the unnecessary obligations, the guilt for saying no, and the pressure to always be on, it all just quietened. And in its place, a stronger, more grounded version of myself. When you stop viewing menopause as something happening to you and start seeing it as a new phase to step into with confidence, it stops feeling like an ending and starts feeling like a transformation. Not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and in the way you work, in the way you live, and most importantly, in the way you choose what truly matters to you. And when I look back, I realize there are things I wish I had done differently, things that would have made this transition smoother, clearer, and far less frustrating. If I could do it again, I would not wait for permission to take menopause seriously. I should have just trusted my instincts earlier. I mean, the signs were there. The fatigue, the brain fog, the mood swings, the emotional shifts I was feeling, and I just kept brushing it off. I told myself I was too young, that it was just stress and that it would pass. I didn't take it seriously. And I don't know what I was waiting for to confirm what my body already knew. And instead of scrambling around just, suffering, I should have asked for help for the symptoms much earlier than I did. But I didn't, because we never really talk about menopause in our communities, especially in the Indian culture. But here's the thing, menopause isn't a taboo, and it shouldn't be treated like one, especially in Indian communities. Too often it's ignored, dismissed, or treated like something women should just handle quietly. But that silence is exactly what makes things harder. I mean, it keeps women uninformed, unprepared, and struggling through symptoms alone when they don't have to. Menopause isn't just a medical transition, it's a life shift, and women deserve to talk about it. Ask for help and get support they need, whether from doctors or family members or experts who actually understand what's happening. And if I had to do it again, I wouldn't wait until menopause made itself impossible to ignore. I'd talk about it openly, ask for support. I would reach out and get the support I needed and make sure other women knew they didn't have to figure it out alone either. Because the more we talk, the more we learn, and the more we learn, the less we suffer in silence. If this resonates with you, do drop a comment down below. Let's start a conversation that all women need. But talking isn't just the first step. What truly makes a difference is having the right tools and guidance to get through menopause with confidence, which not a lot of women have. No one hands you a blueprint for menopause. But that's exactly why I created one, Reset and Flourish. So menopause isn't just about the symptoms. It's about getting through this life shift that impacts everything. Your energy, your work, your relationships. Most women are expected, especially Indian women, are expected to figure it out alone. And that's exactly why I coach women through this transition, not just generic advice, but with real life strategies that fit your energy, your schedules, your lifestyle, and your goals. I help women cut through the confusion, understand their changing bodies, and build practical routines that help with work, with life, with relationships, so they can move forward feeling more powerful and less confused. And I help manage menopause symptoms, not just physical symptoms like the belly fat, bloating, sleep issues, hot flashes, all of that, but also emotional and mental side of the menopause for overall well-being. So if you want guidance that's practical, clear, and built for women like you, my coaching is here to help you. So here's a question. What's the biggest struggle you've faced in menopause? Drop it in the comments below. I'd love to know what the hardest part for you is. I want to make sure that you have what you need to manage menopause with more clarity and ease. So make sure to grab the Menopause Symptoms Relief Cheat Sheet linked in the description below, because it's packed with practical tips for you to manage your symptoms better. And next, watch this. In this video, I'm tackling something most women in menopause struggle with: belly fat and weight gain. So there's so much misleading advice out there, but I break down exactly why you gain weight, what's happening in your body, and what you can actually do to manage it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.